Welcome back, horror fans. Monster Fred here. It's time again to dim the lights down and move in close, because I've gone deep into my archives and have a new batch of flicks to put a little scare in you. So now, in no real order, I present Volume 5 of my top 10 recommended horror films. Let's get started. First up, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Dr. Jekyll must face the terrible consequences as his dark side runs wild with a potion that transforms him into the monstrous Mr. Hyde.
Free! Free at last! Oh!
Let's kick this off with a scare from way back there. Back to 1932, to be precise. Over the years, the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde has been told many times, but Fredric March's portrayal ranks as one of the best. Not only did he give us an award-winning performance, but we are treated, in my opinion, to one of the best transformations put to film. It's even more impressive when you factor in the time period it was made in. The popular score for this is a 7/7 out of 10. My score is an 8 out of 10 shrieks. The Incredible Shrinking Man. When Scott Carey begins to shrink because of exposure to a combination of radiation and insecticide, medical science is powerless to help him.
They gave me radioactive iodine. And an examination with a Geiger counter.
One of a variety of things I love about this classic is that it gets right into it. Because immediately after our protagonist is exposed, he begins to notice some not-so-subtle changes.
All right.
As his condition worsens, even the simplest of things become life-threatening obstacles, and it quickly escalates into a bid for survival. Given the age of the picture, I find the special effects still hold up overall, even though you can probably guess how most of it's done. So if you haven't yet, give it a watch. You'll be glad you did. The popular score for this is a 7/7 out of 10. My score, an 8 out of 10.
Who's that Scottish gal from Garbage?
Next up, Stir of Echoes. After being hypnotized by his sister-in-law, a man begins seeing haunting visions of a girl's ghost. You know, some secrets just won't stay hidden, no matter how deep you bury them. Stir of Echoes is based on a book by Richard Matheson, one of the minds behind the original Twilight Zone, and the book I Am Legend. Kevin Bacon is our ill-fated lead, who under hypnotic suggestion is made to be more open-minded.
Hypnotize me. Come on.
No, you're drunk.
I'm not drunk.
You're not.
Unfortunately, he finds himself open to far more than he ever bargained for. A new world of terror. Now, can he find the hidden truth behind it all before it utterly consumes him? The popular score for this is 7 out of 10. My score, 7 out of 10. The Haunting. A scientist doing research on the paranormal invites two women to a haunted mansion.
The word ghoulish is used to describe a feeling of horror, often accompanied by intense cold. It's nothing to do with ghosts.
They say the dead are not quiet in Hill House. And you'd think that alone would be enough to drive most people away. But of course, if they fled from every little bump in the dark, then we, as fans, would be deprived of all that sweet horror.
What is it? I thought it was you pounding. It was. I mean, I did.
And we wouldn't want that, now would we? You know, for me, there's nothing like taking in a good old black and white. And that's usually because the older pictures took their time to build a psychological awe in its audience.
What's the matter? Something with us.
Not like today, where filmmakers can't wait to toss a jump scare at you. I guess that's the old school in me talking, 'cause they rarely make them like this anymore.
Don't let it know you're in my room.
The popular score for this is 7.6 out of 10. And my score, 7 out of 10.
All I want to do is save the children, not destroy them.
Next, The Innocents. A young governess for 2 children becomes convinced that the house and grounds are haunted. Here's a classic that'll make you keep the lights on. The story here centers on Miss Giddens, a woman whose new position as governess turns into a waking nightmare. As each spectral occurrence unfolds, her fears and suspicions intensify, and the fact that it directly involves the children in her charge only serve to complicate matters.
Oh, what a hateful, what a grumpy old governess you have.
You're not grumpy at all. Of course you're not. Though I wouldn't wonder if you were. No, would I?
This eerie tale is yet another case of someone who didn't know when it was time to get out. Until it was much too late, that is. The popular score is 7.9 out of 10. My score, a 7 out of 10.
Still hoped you'd change your mind, Nan.
Don't worry, darling. I'll be back as quick as I can, and I'll write.
The City of the Dead.
Don't forget me altogether, huh?
A young college student arrives in a sleepy Massachusetts town to research witchcraft. During her stay at a strange inn, she discovers the startling secret about the town and its people. This old school offering was recommended by Jonathan Haney, and this turned out to be a delightful brew of horror with its witches and human sacrifice.
Witch!
There were even a few surprises that caught me, of all people, off guard. And here I thought I'd seen it all. I was also delighted to see that among the cast was a pre-Dracula Christopher Lee, up to his usual mischief.
Accept the sacrifice.
City of the Dead proved to be one heck of a ride, and I'm more than proud to add it to my collection. The popular score for this one is a 6.8 out of 10. My score, a 7 out of 10 shrieks.
For I have done nothing save preach Christ's true gospel.
The Witch. A family in 1630s New England is torn apart by the forces of witchcraft, black magic, and possession. Here's another story of witches. It starts out simply enough, as a small family is banished from a Puritan colony. And while facing life alone in the woods, dread and distrust loom as they're faced with one tragedy after another.
Sam? Samuel!
Something or someone is out there preying upon them. After watching this one, kiddies, I have to say, it's not often I come across a modern horror picture that instills actual horror.
Get me gone!
Just when I thought I'd given up, this shows up in my watch list and demonstrates that there's still some life left in the genre. The popular score here is a 6.8 out of 10. My score, a 7 out of 10. Up next, Repulsion. A sex-repulsed woman sinks into a deep depression and has violent and horrific visions. This picture sports an impressive reputation, so I had to check it out for myself. And of all the films I've ever put on a list, this ranks as one of the most unusual. It's a surreal and unnerving experience. And if that's what the filmmakers were going for, then mission accomplished. Now, if you plan on giving this a look, and I hope you are, be warned. Repulsion takes its time to set things up. Perhaps too much for most modern horror fans. But it's time well spent. As it works its way inside your head, before you know it, the dark phantasms of its lead have become your own. After it ended, I can safely say the experience is one I won't soon forget. The popular score here is a 7.8 out of 10. My score, 8 out of 10.
You know the Drablow estate?
Well, heard of it.
It's been my personal concern, of course.
The Woman in Black.
For half a century.
When a reclusive old widow dies, a young solicitor is sent by his firm to settle the estate. Once he enters the house, he discovers its horrible history and becomes ensnared in its even more horrible legacy. Here's a recommendation coming in from Drone 13. This haunted morsel introduces us to Solicitor Arthur Kidd. Sadly, he's the second person on this list who takes a job he was better off passing on. Our story takes off when the mysterious woman in black first appears during a funeral.
Eternal life through our Lord Jesus Christ, who shall change the body of our low estate that it may be like unto his glorious body.
Thereafter, we're entertained to a series of hair-raising events, all leading up to a dreadful yet gratifying conclusion. Thanks again, Drone 13, for this worthwhile recommendation. I get goosebumps just talking about it. The popular score here is a 7.3 out of 10. My score, an 8 out of 10.
5 minutes from platform 3. 7:55.
And finally, Dr. Terror's House of Horrors. While aboard a British train, mysterious fortune teller Dr. Shrek uses tarot cards to read the fates of 5 fellow passengers.
The person whose fortune is to be told touches the cards 3 times.
My final selection happens to be one I hold in high regard. I caught this on television way back as a young monster. It also happens to be an anthology, and I know you just love those. In this collection, we've got vampires, werewolves, a disembodied hand, and so much more. Another bonus is that it stars Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, who are no strangers to the genre. Be sure to have plenty of popcorn on hand for this, because when the terrible truth of Dr. Terror is revealed,
If you're not gay.
you'll see that the ending is simply to die for. The popular score for this is 6.8 out of 10. My score is an 8 out of 10 shrieks. Well, that's all for now, kiddies. I sincerely hope these selections are enough to keep you up at night. Thanks again to those who made the recommendations for this list. And please, keep them coming. As always, thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll be seeing you in the abyss.
What?